All right, so now I've turned off all my other layers except for the final type layers. And now I want to be really picky. And I'm looking at the individual spacing of each one. And I'm looking at little breaks in the stroke here. And you want to fix everything as a vector as much as you can. And sometimes that means, that's why I don't like strokes so much. Sometimes it means adding new components. Whoops. So I'm going to create a new layer on top here to fix these gaps. Actually, I should probably use the pin tool for this. Make a little closed path to finish up this stroke. I can do it there too. This one's the trickiest one, that's why I started with it. I'm just going to get it at the right place and get the right curve to it. So close. So remember, vectors, they have no scale, so anything that's just a little bit off in your type, you're going to regret later. Just going to move it ever so slightly. Extend it just a little bit. Make sure everything lines up. So close. No, it's just being ornery. Ah. Must be snapping to a grid. Let's see. You're seeing the aggravation with Illustrator in action here. It's the finest measurement. Very frustrating. And it's because I'm trying to match a stroke to a path. And so sometimes the best way to do that is to undershoot it and then give it a stroke as well. Oh, that's way too big. All right. There we go. Try to do it point by point. There we go. That's going to work. This one should be a lot easier. It's just a block. Want to line up with the top, line up with the corner there. Very good. Same navigation shortcuts as Photoshop. Looking around. Fixing things that need to be fixed. Trying to get them as good as you possibly can. I actually want that curve and that curve to kind of harken back to the original, so the Z softens everything. This doesn't feel so heavy metal. So I like all of this. All those solutions are working. I can play a little bit with the spacing on these. So I want to find that layer, I want to lock the other layers. Unlock this, select it. Where did this come from? Sometimes in Illustrator you'll create things you don't want to create. I copied and pasted at some point, I guess. Yeah, everything I want is still there. Okay, so now on this project, these are still type tools. So if I use the large selection tool and I double click, I should be able to insert spaces between the individual text and then change their point size to what I want. So that, oh, you see those beautiful triangles created instead of them overlapping each other. Same thing here. Let's try 5 point. I don't mind if things touch, I just want them to seem as readable as possible. Make that another 5 points. Yeah, so I think that all works a little bit better. Maybe make these just a little bit bigger because of it. And then play with the kerning. Give it a little bit more room. All right. So going over with a fine-tooth comb now, really organizing this. If I wanted the O to line up better with the T, I need to decenter this and then actually build in a space in front of the T that I can modify, because fonts don't always line up in the way you think. But I'm trying to keep it all as the type tool as much as possible. So now the T lines up a little bit better. Maybe not exactly, maybe I need to make it just a little bit more. Okay, that looks visually lined up now. Let's see if the in lines up. Yeah, close enough. Maybe I'll just move it down one. Okay, now I need to move this whole thing, put it back into place. And the idea is that it lines up with the Ritz, but that the R is a little bit bigger. And then I can line them both up with my sketch. And that looks pretty good. Okay, now for the Putin part. And after this, I'll be able to save my black and white solutions, lock everything else. Confused by my envelopes and layers here. So let me just do that. All right. So now to affect the Putin, same thing. Because I created this arc, it's in an envelope. So I have to use the large selection tool. And I can put spaces in between the text where I need them. And just very small, so I'll do 5 points to help this overlap. Looks like I need a little bit more, maybe 7 points. Try to keep it all as a type tool as long as possible. Get it as close as I can before I have to create outlines, because that limits some of this capability. So I'm just forcing those 7-point spaces in between each letter, just to give me control of the spacing overall. And see how that looks. Yep, I can still use a little bit more with the I's, the U and the T. And between the I and the T and the I and the N. All fun graphic design stuff. Okay. So now I think, well, what do I need to customize? Well, maybe I want the P to be a little bit bigger. Maybe I don't need as much space between the P and the U. Try that. Yeah, let's try it. All right. So now let's turn our sketch layer on. It'll basically fit in that way. And I was going to maybe put in this rainbow amongst the letters. So how would I do that? I'm going to select just the rainbows letters. And try to create an outline from it. Exit isolation mode. Let's try to treat it like a normal. Come on.